I've now started streaming.
Yeah, I guess that's fine.
You guess that's fine? You guys still
Yeah.
survive? Alright. We now streaming. I am here. Now there's not any viewers yet, so we'll see what happens. And my bit rate says, how's my bit rate offline, but my stream is fine?
No answers. I don't know.
Oh, there it goes. Okay. Like I had a video and it said offline, but the video was playing, and I'm like, this Twitch is drunk. Hey, can we at least see it today? Can it at least work?
Yeah, that would probably be a good thing.
Oh, it's working so far. I'm scared. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, does anyone want to introduce themselves for funsies? I don't have anything on screen, but you can if you want. You be like, hi, it's me.
Hi, it's me.
Nice.
I've been here the whole time.
Sam Reich? All right.
No, that's Solar Zero, who streams also.
We got Solar. We got Bird. We got Spritz.
Bird.
Bird with the background commentary.
I believe.
Wife
Yeah,
is here too.
we've got wife here too. Yes.
Wife.
Wife. Yes. Yazzie is here too. I was getting to wife. I'm also juggling.
Excellent, good people.
Yes, good people. So as we decided via a very scientific process, our seed is XH11 turtles. If anyone wants to play along at home. And I am now making the world. Ooh la la.
Interesting.
Glorious existence.
It's
I
taking
cannot wait.
It's taking its time on desertification. That's concerning.
Lots of sand? Oh no!
Maybe it just hates turtles.
Bruh.
Oh no, the turtles aren't going to get to the ocean.
Wait, it could be beach sand.
Oh, maybe. You know what?
All the baby turtles.
They do have sea turtles. You are right.
The turtles do like beaches.
Right. Multiplayer enabled, allowed users, friends, invite only. Yes, I do want to. I guess I could do I don't know. I'm very controlling. I know what to do.
What do we got?
Where's the ding dang? There's a password button. Oh, it's after this. Okay, hold on. We're back in the cave. You see Terraria? No, you don't. Okay. Friends of friends might help things a little, but okay. No one read what I'm posting in a Cat Girls Out of Context channel out loud. That's your special button. Do we understand?
Understand completely.
Okay. I'm going to accept Solar's stream together thing. I don't know what that's going to do.
I don't either, because I accidentally hit it and I didn't mean to.
It merges our chats.
It's not, it's just basically...
Oh. Okay. That should be fine.
It may or may not merge our audio somewhat too. I don't know. So, oh, Katie got in.
Can we just join you?
Yeah, that's you can join me through Steam by joining my game on the friends list and entering the very not a password I posted in a place. You told me you understood completely.
There you are. Oh my god, it's the things.
Here we go. Join game.
Joining. Oh, Twitch may record video and sound while you are backstage for safety reasons. Okay.
We joined the same team?
It's like a shared stream. I had to click a button. I don't know what it's doing yet. We'll see. We'll see how broken it is. Liz said, ah!
Liz is committing the ah?
So far, I'm in a magic Solar Zero guest star infinite swirly gig. So we'll see what happens.
Right. We are here. We are now committing massive amounts of fun.
I don't know what it is doing. Should I refresh?
I'm gonna hit the knock thing one more time.
Oh, Solar isn't here yet. Oh, there it
I
goes.
just got here.
Allow Twitch TV to use your microphone. Ooh.
Yeah, because it all goes through. Here.
Can chat hear your call? Oh.
Oh, what? Oh,
Okay.
shit. I just got us Acorn slingshot.
I'm going to mute my mic on there since we have it on Discord with everyone else. Hope that's all right.
Yeah, that's
Okay. And I can't see my chat this way. I have to. Oh, it's over here. Okay. Okay.
Hey, we'll figure it out.
I did
Hey,
accept.
now there's Pokemon on your end too.
Okay. I have made it all work according to the way it's supposed to.
Yay!
Join the call. Oh, okay. So it allows us to. Wow, it's a tall tree. Allows us to be in a voice call together. Sure. Notify my followers that I'm a guest on someone else's stream. Why not? I'm also on my stream. I think it works for both of us.
I think so.
Liz says I'm a tall tree.
Hey, Sarah.
Yeah.
I give to you my seed.
Gross.
Oh.
Get away
it's
from
an
me.
acorn. What are you talking about? All right.
Slime's
Time to go.
surrounding me. Ah. Haven't played in ages.
Rawr.
Pick up argument.
What?
Be on the pink team. We gotta find a good spot to build a place. I see you have some friends.
Ah.
Oh, snap. I have found the ore. At least some of it.
I like how Solar is suffering and everyone else is like, oh, look!
What's Solar suffering with? I'm confused. Is he just fighting with the Twitch?
No, with slimes.
My kindred. Oh, God. Gazzy!
Oh.
Oh,
The
she went.
vultures are supposed to attack you after you die. What is this?
It's Terraria. I thought you knew.
It's a shenanigan.
You're a shenanigan. You know, I just
won't
wanted.
deny that.
I just wanted to build a little hut by the water, and so far I've seen 0 water, and I'm getting concerned that desertification thing was no joke.
Uh-oh.
Wait, oh, come on, game.
Have a puddle.
I'm a sexy otter.
Oh, that's a different background.
Guys, I have found a massive iron vein.
Good.
I am going to make us so much metal money. Slime, go away! Oh, shit.
Well, this is a nice big flat spot. I mean, there's a big pond in the background. I guess that suits me.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, are we about to hit a lake or something?
Oh, they just made a bunch of... That's not a pond at all! That's my wife's
Lake.
grave!
Oh,
Oh,
no!
that's depressing!
Oh, God.
I think
Oh my god,
think
it's
we
my
found a
wife's
mirage.
ghost!
okay, that's kind of funny, just the background. Just no, this wasn't actually a ow.
You know what? Maybe I will build by the big lake in the background. It does feel like me.
Oh,
this
is where Kazzy died earlier.
I just might have to add...
Gazzy's memory. And her bones.
I have to add an actual something at some point to resemble water in the foreground.
We going to get in the water.
Yo, this tree ever want to cut? Am I lagged out or something? What is this axe? Forceful copper. I like forcefully sucks. Screw you, grasshopper. Wow, I can't even kill a grasshopper. That is But hey, I have a godly copper pickaxe, so...
Nice. You are more prepared than many mortals before you.
Just gonna go ahead. Make my house by the lake. Love me a good lake. Dream location. Hi, baby. Have you come to join me in my cabin in the woods? On a hill, apparently. Truly the commune in a nutshell. Everything I ever wanted. Mountainside, lake view, pet worm. Hello.
Hello.
Coming in.
Okay. It begins. Let's see. We want to start. We need some torches.
You got plenty of wood if you need it.
Always using wood here. What do we got? Oh, I mean, it's my house. My house has tiki torch. That's just the law here. Welcome to Terraria with Sarah. There's always a tiki torch.
Like the aesthetic.
Ah,
Oh shit, there's a hot air balloon.
Let's get a nice wooden sword because this thing sucks. Let's get something resembling a starting kit of armor. I love being ugly. Oh, there's a new, like, visual effect when you craft something. I never even noticed.
Nuts to you.
I really do like these
Giant
office
wiggly bastard.
blocks. I just need a lot more... Need a lot more gel if I want to go ham with them. They're so pretty. I think that might be my new favorite wood block, honestly.
Which one?
Office?
Oh, okay.
It's like you need 10 wood and 5 gel to make 10 of them. So you basically just polish wood. Look at it.
That's good.
I find it very pretty. Katie says everyone should join Pink Team.
Okay.
team.
Give me a second, I'm dealing with problems. There you are.
Yeah.
Die, die, die.
I think that health just, like, reversed his health or something. Or that slime reversed his health somehow.
The power of Splorkle. Yes, Splorkle.
I love the Splorkle.
No, you do. Somehow,
Let's
despite
make
us
the
making that.
things.
Oh,
Okay, can I... Okay.
nailed it.
You ever seen that show?
You're making cake?
Yeah. An
We
experience.
talked about it today at work.
Interface.
Good buddy.
Oh, that's not what I wanted. Can...
Dexter's Lab reference.
Okay. Hello.
I'm sorry, buddy.
Oh, shoot. A cactus pickaxe.
I give
Nice.
unto you gift.
Thank you. I appreciate it. In return, I offer you many woods.
Man, first you're throwing your seed everywhere, and then you're offering your wood? Jesus, Spritz.
I mean, I'm talking about trees. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah, brag about the size of it then.
You assume I regret anything. I'm just here to commit all sorts of shenanigans.
Just waiting for all sorts of sin.
Oh, I also got like a bunch of iron. How do we make a oven again? Probably need stone.
I think all of us playing together will get Lizzie's computer area clean, and she'll be able to do
We
things.
must bring in the boss.
It mutes the
It did
music when I
something on
tab
the
out. I gotta see if there's a way to turn that off. I am pinged. I'm pinged over here. I don't care. Close this. Just close it. Am I still in the call if I do that?
I hear you.
Okay, cool. I closed the Discord window and then it dawned on me, like, wait, I am using Discord.
Yeah, it's no.
How do you make a furnace again?
Stone and I think fire. You might need the fire, like fire pit.
Zombies
fire.
are coming.
Need torches. Okay.
The zombies are coming.
Hey, we don't want no zombies on our lawn. Oh, wait, what? Oh, okay.
Oh, hey, there is some water over here.
Blah, 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 blah. I found the lake. It's just down.
Nice.
It's also yellow, so I don't know how I feel about that.
Spawned with a broken pickaxe.
Leases, I guess.
Yeah, mine wasn't great either. Well, no, my pickaxe is the one thing I have that's decent. Everything else sucks.
But you know what? I believe that we can improve quickly.
Yes.
I don't know why. I have a fuckload of iron bars waiting for you.
Because we make other shit, and it gets better. Oh my god, the space bar of doom. Okay.
Space.
Told you to let me fix it.
I know, but I keep forgetting at decent times. Bird is in chat.
Okay.
Wait, what about me?
You said
You
meow.
exist.
Dustin Nova, meow.
You know, this feels like a very appropriate use of our iron.
Please tell me that when I come up there, I'm not going to see a giant metal penis.
Oh no, I wouldn't do that. I am, however, going to add this weather vane to the top of our house because, you know, we have to know what the weather is.
Gonna die to the slime. It's landing on my head.
Well, he's
Coming.
not.
Never mind. I killed the slime. I'm a god. Run and hide.
Look out.
Where the heck is the anything over here?
Come on, game. You know you want to. You know you want to. Ooh. They refined the UI. Unfortunately, I'm me.
Worry, I believe.
What?
Oh, I need more wood.
Oh, that part is.
Well, advertise it to everyone, why don't you? Oh, that is so much better. Holy cow. Smart cursor upgrade, my beloved.
Forget the button for smart cursors. Oh, it's that one. Okay, I remember now.
Learn to control yourself.
No. Yeah, okay.
I have gotten out of my hole. Hard to get up out of my own hole, but man, there's a lot of worms up here. Just a worm house. House full of worms. I think we need walls.
I'm gathering that wood. Don't worry. I'll get
I
on
think I
that.
threw like 100 or so walls at Kazzy earlier.
Cassie's like very far away from here, though.
Oh.
Yes, Cloud. Terraria. A little niche indie game no one has ever heard of. Ever. I mean, they did just have that huge update, so you can't blame people for being excited about it.
Oh. That one,
Yay. I did it.
That's enough
I know.
chopping. Time to spread my seeds around.
You just made my wife make an audible grossed out noise.
Hey, I'm spreading acorns. I don't know what you're talking about. Who invited these worms? These worms are not allowed. They have to pay rent.
I'll pay rent once I get a bug net. Don't you worry, none.
Stab that eyeball. Yeah. Get down here.
Slowly but surely.
Okay,
Why is this so low?
because I just built it. Oh, okay. Oh, hey, look, chain. Oh, hey, look, a boat. Hey, look, a fish.
Eyeball in the sky. I wish it would die. There it goes.
Take a look. It's full of books. There's no reading rainbow here.
Why is the eyeball full of books?
I don't know.
Trippy. You should kill it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, see, I think you found yourself a problem.
Oh?
Hey, look, a good solution.
I know what I'm doing.
Roll.
Boy, I've made a house or two in my time.
Nice.
Do not doubt me and my abilities.
Respect your authority.
No. No. I'm no Eric
Yeah,
Cartman, and I refuse to be.
That is valid.
Fuck that guy. There's only one Eric Cartman quote that lives rent-free in my head forever.
There.
That one.
Mom,
Where would?
you tell me if you were in a
Yeah,
German
that's
Scheiße
like-
porno, right? Sure, honey. I made windows.
Nice.
That's my priorities. You're all like, gear? Metal? You fools. Windows!
valid. The shooting star.
Yuri ends up joining just so she can jump in and replace it with a modded block called Linux. Needs more wood. Lovely. Alright.
Is he doing alright over there?
Oh, jeez. Let's look at my map. Well, Spawn Guy's still hanging out at Spawn, so I guess someone has to go tell him he has a house now. Lovely.
Probably. I'll do it. Just give me a second to get up out of here.
You'll find there's a slight problem outside the door.
Well, joke's on you. I know what I'm doing.
I've got stabbers.
Mega stebbers.
Alright. Let's see.
Ah,
Big shanks with my prison shank.
oh no, I let one in. Oh no, I let one.
Dude, that's why you don't let zombies in our lawn.
What? It's not the zombie.
That's what happens when you
I
don't
know.
put any sunflowers.
Oh, we gotta go find it first, I
Racquetball,
think.
racquetball, racquetball.
What the heck is racquetball?
Google it.
What is that sport? What is this nonsense you have invoked into my existence?
Pretty straightforward. You have a racket. You have a ball. I think you can piece it together from that.
Yes, I assume, just like every sport.
No. It's kind of like one-man tennis. You can play it with more than one man, but it's fundamentally kind of a you versus the wall thing. You smack a ball with a tennis racket, and it bounces off a wall, and you try to smack it back. Repeat until you fuck up.
Repeat until you fuck up. That's like true for everything at this point, right?
Sure. Alright, never put up the weather vane again. My bad. Gee.
I'm glad you appreciate the aesthetic.
There you go. Weather vane's up.
Sure I can. I
You
have
don't have
found
to-
cave.
You don't have to use a hammer. You can just replace the wall straight up.
Oh,
Yeah. Like if you, as long as you have a hammer in your inventory, it will do the block swap thing.
That's not the right thing.
When you place one wall over another, it should work. The only exception is like down here with the natural walls. It gets kind of iffy. Sometimes it has to have an edge to it, so you can't just erase whatever you want.
got it.
Like I can't just click in the middle of the dirt. I have to click at the edge of the dirt because the dirt is natural. Nice hole to hell. I can't get out of it. There we go.
Did I do it wrong?
Honestly, Spritz, I don't even know what you're talking about, and I still am very tempted to say yes for the bit.
My elevator was not very elevating.
It's a little early, but I know people who've done it earlier. I know people who do it before they make a house. I'm like, what are you doing?
Ah, mineshaft, thy beautiful, beautiful being. I'm gonna hold off on that. I only have an iron helmet to my name.
I'm wearing
It's
wood.
all I need, but also I'm not gonna risk anything.
I was going down here. I haven't been down in a minute. Looks a lot like how I left it.
Yeah, I was going off to the side.
Good for gathering sand, though.
Man,
Thinking that's what you're doing over there. Seems to be the goal. Oh boy, more wet. Shower time.
I love wet.
I'd like it more if the water weren't mysteriously yellow.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
Slight baller.
more lemonade. Blah, 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 blah.
No, Sarah, don't drink the yellow water.
Tastes like chemicals and poison. Mostly just bacteria, but hey.
Snap rope. Umbrella.
Yo,
I love it.
Sarah
Roast
found a
beef.
treat.
Can
Sarah almost never finds treats first.
What the heck does this thing do?
Yes.
I don't know what this thing is, but it's wild.
What?
It's a crow's beak accessory?
Does it make you sound like a crow when you get hurt?
I haven't gotten hurt, I'm not gonna try, but it does let me go caw.
Yeah, then that's what it does. It changes your voice to a crow caw.
Oh, it actually does.
Yep. I had one that
Okay.
was when we were playing Skyblock. I was a chicken.
Sounds like a cat one.
Dang.
Found a catworms.
I feel like this is more Blackbird's thing, but she's not here to play.
Me would like to play.
Alright, lesson learned. You cannot float with an umbrella while stabbing with it.
No, usually you kind of have to use it for one thing at a time.
Boomerang. Beautiful.
Oh, I just noticed where Katie's at, and that is the bowels of Bay. Ooh! Froggy neckband.
Oh, found some rope.
Can of worms.
Froggy.
Wand of sparking, but it kind of sucks.
It's better than nothing.
Yeah. I'm just gonna hold the can of worms for now, because, ain't much point to that without a rod. But hey, give it time.
We can make a wooden rod if we want.
Yes, I can.
Let's see.
Hello, sweet jungle. You're very muddy today.
And it's to the right. That's really close to spawn. That's our jungle?
I mean, I am like just into it, but yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's an early jungle. Interesting. Oop, punch the mic.
Can we grow bamboo? Or do we need like jumping grass or something?
I think bamboo just spawns in the jungle. I don't think you even can grow it.
Lumpy.
Do what you want. Forever. As long as it doesn't get me banned from Twitch.
Ooh.
Oh, okay. I might be in a problem here.
Wow,
This
I can't believe
slime
you
is
found
much
something
too
outside
durable
the
for me. Okay, I'm leaving.
Yeah, jungle's not an early game thing, typically.
It's very spicy, but you know what? I was spicy enough to survive it, so I win. Oh god, don't invoke hubris, Jungle Ben.
What are we doing?
Get out of here. Oh, he here, we talking shit. Oh shit. There we go.
You okay over there, Spritz?
Yeah, I'm just dealing with slabs and bats.
I thought dealing with slime was kind of like your whole deal.
Yeah, no, I didn't say it was easy.
You know, that's kind of fair.
Get good. They're your people.
Hey, guess what? I am good. I am he, because I just did it. I handled that slab so nice. Nobody look too far into that.
I will.
Alright then.
I can't give you any shit, then what's the fun of it? Uppies, 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 uppies.
Up B? Oh, hey, look, enchanted boomerang.
That's right, up B, and I was a Yoshi main, so throw egg.
What? Wait a minute, this isn't Minecraft. You can't make your chickens that way.
What way?
Otherwise, how can you count them? How can you count your eggs before they chicken?
I don't think Terraria has anything resembling livestock.
I think I've seen a chicken or two.
No. Maybe modded.
You can get the blue chicken from Stardew Valley, and that's the only chicken I know.
Yeah,
Might have been a pet, you're right.
Yeah, yeah.
Or a mount.
Ow.
I think I remember there being a rooster mount somewhere. Or I'm just imagining that. It'd be wild, though. Riding a massive bird.
What happened, baby?
Being chased by an antlion.
Oh, nice knowing you. Hi, Spritz. It's an
Then anything to
antlion.
you.
I'm
Make
using
your process easier.
I'm using copper. I don't want to touch an antlion.
I'm not even near the desert. I found a fucking railway.
Nope.
There's an antlion on it, just hanging
Just
out.
being a dick. Nope, dead.
No, the vultures.
I need something better than this copper sword I started off with.
Yeah, get wood like me.
Material.
Then you'll be powerful.
Yes.
Nice boomerang.
Pow. Thank you. I found it myself.
Whoa!
Oh!
What was that?
Ah, the
A
spider
spider?
boulder.
A what?
Hold on a
Sounds
minute. I don't
terrifying.
like that.
What do you mean a spider boulder?
Was it full of terrifying badness?
That is
Tell me
the
it wasn't.
that is
It's like a rolling spider that killed me and then spread webs everywhere.
that is two of the worst things to encounter in Terraria as one thing. Especially early
Glad
game.
it wasn't as bad as I thought it could be.
I mean, it did kill her.
It did kill. I'm sorry that happened to you, Kazi. But at least it wasn't baby spiders. Okay, where the heck am I? Watch it.
Why did we choose to build all the way over there instead of on spawn?
Because I was looking for a nice, pretty place to build my house. And then everyone followed me. You can build wherever you want.
How much does it take to make a mana star? Like 5?
5.
Okay.
Alright, well
Oh,
I got 3
is they-
stars.
they
Should
went
I
down?
save them or make stars in a bottle?
That's entirely up to you what you want to do with your stars.
Hey, You know what? We're being majestic today. I'm gonna try and put this right here. Hold on.
Hi, baby. How you doing? Would you like to be a frog? Come here.
That.
Now you're a frog.
Oh, that's not what I wanted. Sir, I need to see your warrant. He did not have his warrant.
I have stacked to nearby chests. It did not do as much good as I'd like. You know what, Spritz? Those are nice. Those are nice, but hear me out. Mine's better.
Mine's literal star from the heavens in a bottle on a string.
Did you know
Gold
you
is
can turn
pretty.
those into blocks now and make a star chest? There's a whole star...
I'm just being outplayed here, damn. Okay, damn. I can't beat that. What the hell?
What?
You just know all the things, apparently.
No, I found it out yesterday on that stream that worked so good.
Okay. Fair enough. Bamboo.
And you know what else, bitch? I'm flipping you the bird.
What?
I don't know.
You know what? I'm flipping you the bird. Bird flipped. Yeah.
I don't like being flipped a lot.
Stop flipping bird.
The bird has been flipped.
Sorry,
and
Solar,
you
I didn't mean to
good.
flip your wife without permission.
Oh, how many
Where's
health
Oreo?
potions do you have?
What?
How many health potions do you have?
6.
There are health potions?
Yeah, I got some on me if you need some.
I'm joking.
Okay, you're hilarious. Okay,
What?
throwing knives. Good selling, buddy, I guess. Oh, right, I forgot I had that. Sarah, caca.
I found a frog when I gave it to my wife. Oh, that's why he hasn't moved in yet. We suck.
What are we missing?
Because you haven't told him to move in?
Chair.
Okay.
We need a chair. Or a toilet. Toilet's type of chair.
Technically, but also I doubt it's very good for your lumbar support.
True, but I'm gonna make one just for fun.
Hey, we gotta have a place to do our business. I respect it.
There, it's by the underground furnace. That counts as a table and chair. Someone can live in there now. Someone we don't like very much.
It sounds very shitty. Oh, that cloud slime needs to come back here. You have been obtained.
Let's see. Iron helmet gets me 2 of everything. I think I'd rather have an
Oh
iron.
shit, I have found bomb.
You what?
I have found bombs.
I've
Yes,
got
like-
2 of them.
Bombs!
Alright.
It's the bomb.
Upgrading my sword again. Give me a snack. Okay.
I see where this train track goes.
House is no house without a cloud house.
Where'd you get cloud already? Did you find a cloud slime?
I did find a cloud slime.
Huh.
I
Let's see
one of
here.
those 2 earlier.
A lot of cloud, but I'm gonna at least stuff.
slime.
The equipment.
Nice. For the glory of the slime. What the heck do I even have in my inventory? Alright, I still got that bamboo.
Bamboo, bamboo.
Oh no, it's just in its chest. But yeah, bamboo.
Bamboo, bamboo, bamboo.
What can I make into bamboo?
Oh, no.
Hey, get out of there for just a second.
Yep.
Also, you don't need the chest to open the crap from it anymore.
I just wanted to see what was in there, but yeah.
Oh, this is rough. Okay. Well, at some point, Katie's going to look in here and hate us because of our sorting, but yeah. I'll figure it out later.
Yeah, fair.
Bamboo piece of shit. You stingray sack of shit.
Not to worry, I have successfully utilized our materials for a good reason. It is now 10 p.m.
Oh, you made a claw.
I made a copper watch. It's perfectly fine.
Ah. You made a personal claw.
Can always make more.
You can also make furniture that is a claw.
Yeah.
And anyone near it can see the time.
Yeah, it's probably better, but you know what? It's all good.
So for it's gone now.
You assume I'm going to turn back time with this clock, but nope, I can only tell the future. And the future is bright with all the materials at our whims.
Shit.
No, the toilet's upstairs. I'm not doing that.
Oh, down in the basement. Hey, look, another house. Wow.
Found an abandoned house.
Found two so far. It's very unusual for me. Mean Goblin Spikes.
Who's screaming over here?
That's what it changes your voice to.
Oh, wonderful.
God, that's so
I
gruesome
found
and
a
brutal.
magic mirror.
I mean, it would be your hurt noise.
Yep.
Oh, Sarah found her favorite toy. Everyone else can...
What is?
A face. And it's ruthless.
Punk them boys.
Yeah. Statue.
God, that really is such a visceral noise.
Sorry, I got poisoned. It hurted. I didn't like it. I
Did
got
not like the vibes.
sick. I got sick in my tummy and now I'm pooped.
I hear digging thing.
I see digging thing.
Look at that worm. Get out of here. That worm wants my business. He can't handle my business.
You can't handle the goof. Very funny noise when you take like 2 damage, I will say.
Such a crybaby. It's such like a crybaby sound at that point.
Do you want it?
No.
I found this in the frog.
You found it in the frog.
I gave the frog to Katie so she could be a frog.
Yeah.
Ribbit, ribbit.
She likes frogs.
Yeah. I respect.
I wanted to make her happy, so I let her be a frog. And before I make a Cassie frog, and Rowlet eats 7 conditions with her.
It's nighttime. Oops.
What do you think, baby? Do we need to make a Cassie frog? They're gonna be your new Sona. Oh. Wait a minute. I know you wanted a cow at some point.
Cassie can be any animal she wants.
She
She
can.
can pull it off.
And so can you. Anyone can be anything. In the magical world of Drawn.
Actually, I have drowned your little torches. I apologize. I shall rectify the situation.
You bitch.
It was an accident.
I'm coming
I
to
have
kill
fixed
you.
it.
I'm gonna kill you with my big sword.
It's a good thing we're on the same team.
Ow.
Damn. Tell me how you really feel.
Ooh. I'd light that up. No, you're fine. I was gonna say, that's a lot of spider webs. I was worried that'd be a whole situation, but it's fine.
There might be a cave by you, I think. A little bit under you.
There's
Unless
multiple
you're in it.
things around me. There's also a little one right here, so I'm kind of just like wandering about a bit. Oh, hey, I have a glow stick. It amounted to nothing. That is just a hole of sadness. There's some iron here, though.
Hey, look, that's not nothing. Where the heck is the anything? Oh, there's a lit up area no one's been to that I gotta... Or maybe it's personal.
Where? Hang on. Where are you?
It's like a little bit to my right. Oh, someone put a torch. Yeah, someone's been there.
Katie got pretty deep.
was
She's, if
not
you
me.
look now, she is again quite deep. My wife is deep, guys.
Oh,
Deep, philosophical, and so far into the ground that you can see God's underpants.
Not
there are things knocking at the door.
Tell him to get a warrant.
I think Spritz is confusing the slimes for ice.
But no.
Oh no, Cassie.
I fell down all.
Oh.
I found
A
a
slime
spider
is
cave.
a real feisty one.
You found a spider cave after falling down a hole, and the slime is still what got you. That's a bad situation.
Oh, I have a dangerous one. I have a dangerous one.
Ooh, it's a good situation. I believe I can breathe. Making air with my make-believe. Holy damn, that is a lot of ore. Sorry guys, I fucking scored.
You know, I just realized I left a mining potion at home. This would clearly go better with one.
Alright, I no longer feel bad about using the iron from the chest to make the pick. It has paid for itself. And you're all welcome.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm thinking of process here. There's a lot of things I want from this dirt, but I need this water to go somewhere first, right? Gonna be having a losing battle. That's okay, I see a plan.
That's a good plan. I'll do it too.
That's see Spritz.
Hello. Oh wait, that slime above you has a Splunker potion.
Cool.
Pardon me, Sarah. I'm afraid I might have to make you wet.
I'd rather you not just yet, because I was trying to get that silver there. But you're all concerned about
I'll
this.
adapt my accordingly. I'll be fine.
That was my cry of disgust at whatever your plan is. Obviously.
Above you. Get out of here.
My favorite thing in Skyblock so far is when the worm spawns and you just hear him fall to his death. Just digging noise, digging. Oh no. Like, yeah, dude. What was the plan there?
I didn't have one.
My least favorite part of Skyblock is looking at the map and seeing the spot where I whipped out a torch as I fell to my death. That one stung.
Oh, that's what I missed.
You can just see a light of lit up background tiles as I go plummeting. I don't know if I... Oh, look at that! A lot of nothing.
Yep. Oh, I stole a silver ore. Here you go. Oh wait, that's iron.
Wait, what? Oh, whatever.
Here you go. I accidentally took that from you.
Take these nuts.
Wow.
Got him. Got him. Fuck, I didn't think that through. There it is. Give me my amethyst.
Gotta love the herbal. Oh wait, I can make it like a rope coil. I forgot about that.
Uh-oh. Whoops.
Yeah.
Sarah's digging a hole. Sarah's digging a hole. Sarah.
Oh, almost.
There we go.
There we go.
Oh no.
Weird freak alert. Nice. Hey, if you want to throw your junk at me, I'm going back up home.
You're fine. I'm fine. I'm gonna dig away from the desert now. Now that I've been assailed by a giant devouring worm from hell.
Oh no, you haven't seen the hellworms yet.
Well, I mean, I have, but not on this run. Unless there's a new, even hellier one.
That would be ridiculous.
Oh, maybe they added an Eater of Hell.
Would be weird.
I'd be down. Here's what is historically the easiest boss fight, but in hell. Okay.
He's got more worm parts.
He bleeds lava, just like the lava slimes in expert mode. That's always fun to deal with.
All the things.
Now I am the deep one. Starting to smell a pie!
It's time to go commit
Pie
sweet.
flavored.
Whoa. Huh? Oh, neat. Item flask.
Oh, I think I found
It's like a
Katie's
dead
hole.
cells item.
Ooh, emeralds.
You know what? I feel like being special. I'm taking this back. Aw.
Itch. touching me inappropriately?
Oh, there it is. I'm just blind.
Hey, Kazi, how you doing?
Hello.
Yo,
There's a-
girl?
Loom in a sawmill in the basement. And a bed up here.
If you're gonna sleep, why not put it in the clouds?
You know? Because I don't have enough
Yeah, fair enough.
stuff.
Because the clouds are
Let- let-
up. The
literally just
field
run away.
down.
Alright, hold on. There was a bunch of acorns over here somewhere. Oh, okay, just 2.
Nailing is essential.
Who is off limit?
I'm quoting
Huh?
someone else's poo. Don't know what to tell you.
Okay. Moedabe. How have you done this? Yay.
Was that a language I'm supposed to know?
No.
Good.
It was the drastic measure of longing and observing what was happening around me. Oh shit, cobweb.
Tom Wick? John Wick's lost brother?
No. Cobweb.
Cobweb.
No, cobweb.
Yeah.
It is a weapon. It summons Spidor.
See.
Hooray, I now have the power of arachnophobia on my side. Clearly, nothing can go wrong. This does not have a good race, though. That's okay. Hey, green slime. It's sublime. Yeah, we'll go explore it.
So I told my buddy I like to dig in mines, and he said, or really? Shit, this isn't home. Okay. Hold on, I gotta make a save hole.
Save hole.
I
Watch
gotta,
out, Sarah's gotta save her hole.
I gotta go get the pie.
Oh, we gotta.
Are we
Save
leaving
spot.
graves
Spawn
around, or
point.
should I pick them up?
Oh.
You know what? You leave it, you take it. Well, the desert isn't that big, actually.
Yeah. Or very
Leave, I am
pious.
instantly at the biome.
Oh.
The house.
Which biome?
It's an underground house. And also, I am probably in the corruption.
Oh.
Yep, I see Crimtane here. Or Demonite?
Demonite.
It's been a while. Yeah, Demonite. It's been a while. I forgot the names. Sir, that is a red pressure plate. I didn't trust that in Magic Mirror!
Nice.
Hey, that's the second one.
Favorite again. I forget. There you go.
What's up, girl?
I did set a bed up so
What's up?
you can
What-
spawn
what?
point to the actual house.
Woo. That is much better than this stupid thing.
Oh.
Thank
Sir,
you.
you are a much bigger worm than I prepared for at this juncture.
Here, I give you a beautiful painting. Hello?
Yeah,
What was that? Liz said I'm not allowed to swear.
Alright.
Alright.
Are we allowed to swear for you?
Yeah, you can swear. Sure.
Oh, good. I don't think I will. I'm
All
following
right.
the vibes.
Okay.
Oh, uh-oh. Ah!
Yeah,
There
Fallen
was
says the,
a boulder in that hole!
Item flask.
I forgot to set my spawn. Damn it.
Oh.
Alright, I'm
Don't
coming
do
back.
that.
Star block keg, grandfather clock, port protector helmet. Look at that. Oh, what was I doing? Right, I was seeing if I could make silk. I can make silk. Not enough of it.
Guys, go down here.
A1, I think. Hello,
Hey,
Kizzy.
bud.
What you building over here?
How?
It's a good-looking house. Very well done. Can't wait to see it in the future.
Sawmill.
Those in the basement.
I require cloud slime hole. I don't know why I said hole. That was not... I'm sorry.
Eat my fart as a punishment.
Thank you. It's very fluffy farts.
You're welcome, you nasty.
Oh, God. Alright, I'm saying right now, the merchant lives here. Because his painting's there now.
Well, then you need a
It's a
table and a chair in there.
Well, I will come back to that after I handle my fart. Can I make a cloud door? Is that possible? I can make cloud platforms.
You can make cloud what?
I'm asking if I can make like a cloud door or something.
Yes, but you need a sky mill, I believe.
Rip.
I think. I could be remembering wrong.
Jake, what the heck do I make with this thing?
Mistakes.
Clouds, bathtubs. Ah, yeah, Sky Mill, you were right. Rainbow cloud. Oh, dang, I didn't know you could make rainbow clouds. That's pretty cool.
That's new, I think.
Yep.
Because you couldn't before.
Now, just putting things around. Okay, you would never know where the platform was here. I'm gonna be honest.
You can see the gap.
Okay, it's like barely noticeable. No. Out of here. Probably should lower this by one. You know what? It's just extra fluffy. There you go.
There we go.
Oh. Should probably rename these. Gear. Okay, what's this chest? I think I'm gonna put a statue in there, if you don't mind.
Is there one that says furniture?
Is there?
Yes.
Oh, there is. Let me go fix that then. There you are. And here's a gold chest for you.
Okay, let's see. What else can we put? Campfire counts as furniture. Campfire is furniture. Gold chest is furniture for now. This is gear. This will need to be tweaked later, but that's fine for the moment.
Alright. We now have a wire chest.
Real easy not to swear when you're sitting here thinking real hard. You have a what chest?
I have an NG chest because I found a pressure plate.
Let's see.
Oh, hey. Oh,
What?
wait, hold on.
Oh,
Okay. That's weird. A lot of cobweb.
What?
I feel like one of these needs to be like a, I don't know, naturals chest.
I'm working on it, man.
You're working on it. I get it. Just help plan. A spinal tap?
no.
We need bones for that one. Okay. Oh, there's a spider bullets.
A very full box. Give me.
Solar, do you need help getting back?
We have a spawn bed up here now.
Yeah. I'm aware.
Well, I was telling her.
Do you mind if I make this chest a weapons chest?
I mean, that's what gear is right now.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. My end goal is here. Throw this in there. I'm trying to sort my shit. It just takes a while, and it'll all probably have to be moved later anyway. Honestly.
Fair.
No.
I see you've made a lot of new friends. Let's go say hi. We win. I forget. How long does it take for money to despawn? I completely forgot.
A hot
I died
minute.
over there. Okay, I might be able to get my money. It's only 1 gold though.
These are not going to grow, man. This one might. Maybe. This one will not. That one probably can. I'll need to do this. Argument, you'll want a flat spot over here if you want to plant trees. Okay. Okay! Keep these, keep these, keep these, keep these. All this is mine forever. Yes. Can I craft anything? I did bring back all the iron forever. Silver. Did we smelt all that iron already? Oh, you're smelting.
Sorry.
Money!
It's fine.
Hooray.
Toss this in there. What is with the acorn placement, y'all?
That was me shooting the slingshot. If it went random, that's why.
Okay. Isn't that cute? But it's wrong.
Not another worm.
You know that reference. Sorry, you're old. Me too. No! Okay.
Handle this devourer. Assuming he's dumb. On second thought, this might not be as easy as I thought it would be. Aha! Gotcha! I'm out of here.
Yes, dear. Okay, give me a minute. I don't have a way out of here right now. I'm not that far down, though, so I just need to deal with that asshole. Another dart trap if anyone wants it, for reasons.
I mean, could be good for engineering things.
Yeah, but we can't do those yet.
True, but
can't do anything fun yet.
Okay. Would Lens go into nature?
Yes.
Alright.
Hey, baby. Yeah, I only have 20 torches right now. Oh, thank you. What did you have for me? Oh, thank you. Oh, you have lots of roaring stuff. I think they just use most of my... You know, I wanted to just do that real quick, and it's... Am I wrong about how you do this? Okay, I'll go ask the god.
What the heck we doing?
Hi,
I'm
god.
going to take the bars and put them on the first floor.
Oh. Quite wild. Excuse me. Okay, what can I do here?
Gem smart block.
Jack
Okay,
shit. I can do jack. I
feel like we might need just more houses, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think that might be the call to action here.
Can't do anything, man. Alright. Didn't help much, but whatever.
I'm going to go on tree duty, I guess. Go. Nature.
Back to exploration.
Back digging, and I got nothing to show for it. Alright. It's fine.
Oh, hey, money in the tree.
Heading down your direction, Sarah.
What?
I'm heading down toward your direction.
Oh, okay, whatever. I'm just looking around. What are we digging?
I'm digging you. Nature's brutal.
I really thought there'd be a nice something hidden in the darkness here, but there weren't squat.
Oh!
Oh no,
Merciful euthanasia.
I doubt that.
There was a pressure plate. It just, I guess, TNT right on it.
Devious.
Ah,
Oh, fair warning, there might be a disarmed trapped by the underground house by the corruption, so...
Solar got a merciful euthanasia.
I don't think that was the right one, but okay.
No. I was answering Liz in the chat.
Okay.
She doesn't play with us on account of the fact that, no pooter probably is a big one.
That's That's
Hey,
unfortunate.
hold up. That is a name I have not heard in ages.
Who?
How you been, man?
Just don't make me draw Ren experiencing merciful euthanasia, alright?
Hey, it was a mercy.
I'm not into drawing stuff. Only time you need to draw a corpse is for emotional damage.
Oh.
You're not making someone upset for the right reasons, then you're just doing a weird fetish. My sage wisdom for the day. You know what else is my sage wisdom for the day?
Oh. Spaghetti.
Later now?
That one's for the people who can read. That's right. The deeply ableist Sea Serenade live streamer.
I've
You're
been doing...
illiterate on my chat? Man, you'd be mad if you knew what the fuck I was saying.
Spending some time with some friends here.
I don't know, Liz.
Realizing what time it is.
I will be honest, Spritz, it's more impactful when you make fun of someone for not being able to read when you have less punctuation typos.
What are you talking about? Oh, hey, I'm on Cloud. Sir, you're not allowed at our window. Get out of here.
Oh, hey, Automod Smart Detection realized StreamBoo.com is a spam site.
Thank goodness.
Held a message for a reason. Yeah, you did. Look at you. You can do it. You can do it. You can actually detect spam sometimes. Good job. Good job, robot with one job.
Hooray, he did it.
You did the one thing you're supposed to do besides stop children from swearing.
Yeah.
Which doesn't matter on my
Do it at some
stream.
point.
I don't care if people swear. I swear unless I'm told not to by the magic button.
Power of the people.
Automod gets so mad over nothing happening. I was like, someone said butthole. I'm like, I'm sure they did. The seed is butthole.
I forgot it did that to me. I'm like, how dare I say a word that was said already in stream?
Right? Liz has banned me from digging.
Wow.
Let me see if that's even viable. I guess I'm banned from digging for 5 minutes.
I guess you're gonna start crafting instead?
I gotta get
Sarah.
out. I'm in a hole and I
Sarah.
didn't bring a recall.
Hold on. Let me see if I can save you. Give me a second. Wait. Aha!
Nice
Hold on.
spiders.
Can't dig. I can't do anything. I got nothing. I got weapon. I got no armor.
Sarah, what's it worth to come home right now?
What?
What's it worth to come home right now?
I don't know. I'm banned from digging. If I can't find a way out of here, then I'm walking in circles.
Hey, guess what?
What? Thanks. I probably found that in the first place.
Well, probably, but there you go. It worked out for you.
I don't know if explosives would count as digging or not.
Yeah, it would be if it breaks blocks.
I mean, if I'm doing it to dig, I guess. Okay, can I do anything with the iron I got, or is it not enough and I am once again sad? Cause she can and it's funny? Oh.
I mean, you
Nope.
gotta respect the funny.
Can't do shit. I can make a bone jet. No, someone found bones. It wasn't me.
Uh-oh.
Iron helmet. Iron helmet doesn't
no,
trade.
no.
It just trades defense for defense. It doesn't help me.
Spikes.
Minecart's fine, I guess. I'll make a minecart.
We need armor.
Huh?
Ah,
We need materials. We need monsters.
I got a
We need
bunch of
Walter-
materials.
Monsters! Sir Walter the Merchant. Hooray! He exists now.
I got a bunch of materials, and they all were taken away. I used none of that. Like the 100-some-odd iron I brought back, I got nothing of that. Like, oh,
So
okay.
Dustin brought up
Ooh. Well, we
an
can afford a
interesting
pylon
point.
immediately. That's nice.
I got the piggy bank.
Okay, so Dustin brought up an interesting point. If Sarah's banned from digging, that would probably mean that I'm banned, since I'm also streaming.
That depends. Do you let people ban you from doing things with in-game action points?
I mean, it's a collab.
Generally,
screen,
yes, but
I'd say she has to ban you separately with different points.
yeah, I suppose that's true.
Otherwise,
Don't
have
worry.
that set on
You
mine.
are exempt from shenanigans, Solar. For now.
just a random bird hanging out in your house.
You know what? He
Jeez.
fits. He's nice. He's allowed to live there for now.
Digging. Alright.
Turn around. Oh my god. I found a giant cave.
I'll chomp. I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in.
Puff and I'll blow you up.
Dang, dude.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. I need to keep working. Hold on. Oh, I got all this wood. I can definitely keep working. I'll make another house for an NPC or 3. Wait, hold on. If we put a table and chair here, would this count as a viable house? Let me check. Yeah, it's literally just table and chair. Alright, I can fix that.
Table, chair, and walls.
Chair.
There's an oasis.
Yeah, that way towards corruption.
Oh no, I must hydrate. I'm going to be right back. I am not
Yep.
safe here.
Look at that palm wood, baby.
Respect the hydrate or dihydrate mentality.
Yeah. Yeah, be right back.
You know what? That's a good notion. I'll get a drink too. Be right back.
I've used semantics to avoid things before, but only if it's, like, entertaining to watch me do it. If you're bored of watching me dig and you say no digging, me switching the bombs is just slightly faster digging. With a lot more of me going, oops, I'm gonna blow up. Oops, I'm gonna blow up. Which might vibe for some people, I don't know. There we go. That's not digging, that's leveling. It's completely different. I'm landscaping. Whole different
Alrighty.
thing.
Claire, the nurse.
Motherfucking... You wanna die, huh?
So, oh,
Hooray!
oh,
We now officially have a town. Claire looks like she could turn sassy on a dime. That's amazing, actually.
I mean, I can't fight a boss yet. I don't have the tools, so... Even if you told me I had to fight a boss, I don't have the means, and I have to reject that one for now.
Now, see, if the boss just arrives.
Yes, but if someone's like, here's... I'm gonna change it from banning in-game action to, like, make a rule for 5 minutes or something, because most people, that tends to work better anyway.
no. Ow. Okay.
It's more versatile, like when Solar did the I have to keep jumping. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So... You were gonna make Solar do it. It makes Solar just have to keep jumping. If you did it to me right now, you'd be hearing the most heinous noise of all time forever, and I would not blame you for leaving, so... I'm allowed to dig again, but now I'm doing something else, and my cat's clawing at my leg. Hello, cat. Need to turn that off. I even gave it an extra minute, Lizzie, just for you. You brat! I'm questioning...
Also,
Hello.
for the note, Uma, I haven't played this game in so long that I have forgotten a majority of everything. So I appreciate you telling me that.
Telling you what?
That you can just click on a rope with more rope instead of throwing coils in order to...
Oh, yeah, no, that shit rules. Alright, we got palm wood. Here's what we're gonna do.
The NPCs we're getting right now, but I'm making a few temp houses until we make better houses for them.
Oh, NPCs can now show up without a house. They will just leave it.
Okay.
They will now leave at night.
Oh, that's good to know. But you know what? More homes means more NPCs
That is true.
stick around. I accommodate my NPCs even if it's in, you know, the fucking overhang.
You're an overhang. Got him.
Your mom thought I was overhanging very nicely last night.
Wow.
Whoa.
She
The
needs
joke
it.
was there.
Help her lighten up.
I got like at least another room. I don't know who else is gonna show up, but we got 4 or 5 rooms to work with.
We need to solve the housing crisis, is what chat says.
Wait, hold on. Mighty Tidy. Used with materials to place matching stalactites and stalagmites.
Yeah, it's a new thing,
Wait.
too.
Portable kiln. Nice.
Ah,
Can they actually get in their house, or are they just gonna wander forever?
What's up, baby girl? You found something. That's ominous.
What has Kazi found?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Nunya, she says.
Alright, none of my business. I understand.
We're getting full Kazi'd. I am just looking for the palmwood door. Oh my god. Oh, too late. Here they come.
Can I unmake this? Oh,
Someone's very happy, though. I can say that confidently.
fine.
He's over there like, oh yes. You get cloud in a bottle or something.
Mm,
Oh, I think that means I'm the only one who doesn't have a mirror. I found two abandoned houses really early and had good luck, and then I haven't had a chance otherwise to do anything.
ooh. Kazi, your home is turning real nice. Inspect it. Pardon me. Oh snap, Kazi got a mushroom bed? Damn, I'm about to be actually jealous.
I was just being nice before, but now fuck you.
I didn't mean it like that. Oh no. Oh no.
Now I'm mad. Merlin, honey, what? Yeah? What's up, sweet thing?
I got a suspicious eye.
Oh boy, don't do that.
It was pretty.
That's cool. It's not happening right now, honey. I hit a level of frustration with some things, and I came over here for a minute. I wasn't allowed to build, or to dig, so I was like, I'll go build.
Thanks for following as well, dude.
What direction?
I'm at the desert.
Actually surprised. What brought you in, dude?
Left. the first place you died.
Okay, there you are. Get out of the rock.
Happy to help fill it.
That would do it.
There's a fucking shackle. Jeez. You? I think you're doing it better than anybody, honey. You're doing the job. I think if your goal is self-sufficiency, you are achieving it.
Some of them should work. I see that one. Ow. What did
Skeleman.
Stop looking at chat.
Oh, hey. Zombie.
Oh,
What do you
sticks.
have inside
Hey.
of you?
Oh, yeah, I did that.
Oh, you are a separate zombie that, or a separate slime that had a torch. Very impressive. The fist.
Okay. I did not think of that. Actually broadcast, or rather, give a shout out saying that I'd be doing this.
Oh no. Hey guys, I found a beautiful lady in the darkness. I'm sure she'll be rather nice.
Oh,
Give her a kiss.
No, I don't believe it.
I'm kissing her with my spiders. It's not very effective,
what?
but you know what? It works.
I'm kissing her with my spiders.
Hey, it works.
You had me in the first half, not gonna lie.
What, you've never kissed your woman with spiders?
Oh, my
I
Discord's not open.
can't
Someone add
say
that
I
out of
have.
context. I don't have it up right now. Kissed her
Oh
with
shit,
my
I got a water
spiders.
leaf.
Spite, which is 2% damage and 2 take movement speed for now, I suppose.
It's okay.
A bit of light in the area. I think someone might have been here already.
Oh. It is stuff that I cannot find.
You know, I actually want to go for this.
Yeah.
Can I seriously not make this jump? Damn.
I cannot make more torches.
Oh, Jesus. Well, okay.
Jimbus
Dangers of desert
Crimbo!
There are so much fucking water here. What had happened here? Oh god. That moment when you drop a lake on your head accidentally. Is that a gem tree? Or am I going crazy?
They exist.
No, I mean, it's like a thin green thing underground.
Could be a gem tree, could be something else. We don't know. Hi,
Oh,
baby.
it disappeared.
Oh, and Sarah goes crazy the location. You like it? Thank you. Dog collar. Well,
bark for me, baby.
yes, Mom. Arr, arr, arr. Whatever makes you happy. I have to smell my own damn aura. Okay. It's a glass.
Hey, stop it.
Sorry, snail.
Finally make a hammer.
What the hell am I hearing right now? Am I hearing like a frog or a fucking ghoul?
Weird hurt noises. Haunting spirits. Scare him.
The weird, mysterious sounds of this fucking frog in my ear. Oh, hey, look. Oh, no, wait, it's a salamander.
Are you doing a frog?
It wasn't a frog, it was a salamander, apparently.
Hurt?
And he wants to eat me, but you know what? I'm gonna kiss him with my spiders, oh god.
Are you going to kiss him with your spiders?
The spiders are now kissing. It's not my choice. Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Hey, oh, hey, I win!
that's what all the little freaks tell themselves.
Oh, hey, look, a yo-yo.
Nice.
Yes, I see the explosives clear as day. You don't think you can handle me. Okay.
I'm going to end up drowning myself.
A woo. Barking for my wife like a good girl. On all
Green or
fours. Ooh, let's do yellow.
Oh my god, there's so many slimes over here. Hey,
Liz
yo-yo
is
works.
barking too, so do with that what you will, honey.
I didn't
Thank
realize possums could bark.
Hey, Liz can do whatever she sets her mind to,
I believe it.
just like the rest of us.
Powerful like that. Liz is powerful like that.
Anything she wants, including your mother. Thank you for finally working.
Come on, give me something interesting here. Oh, hey, look, a minecart. Oh, hey, look, a mushroom biome.
We're out.
I think that looks like shit. Get rid. That's what's
Delete
up
us.
here. That'll work. Let's do that. Put it behind the door. That'll make a nice
Where the heck am I?
honk honk. Yeah.
Hey, die trader. That's a good call.
Neat.
Yeah, he moved right in. Awesome.
Hey, traveling merchant.
Hey, I
Anyone
think
home
the
there
one
to
of my
see what he can
characters
do?
in my book is named Aiden. Spelled that way.
It's the die
Looks
trader.
finally.
Oh,
What, baby? Is he an expensive, saucy boy?
Oh, wait. That is the...
That. Oh, damn, that's frustrating. What up? Dive at 4 gold. I only have 2. Easter block. That's new, and I have no idea what it does. He sells
it?
Easter blocks.
Sounds like a cosmetic thing.
It's a block. You do block stuff with it, I assume.
Yeah.
No, you're like, wow, I never would have thought of that.
Yeah, okay.
Blue roller skates. Coasting matches placement speed. That sounds interestingly useful. How much money does everyone have, and do we want to try getting that?
Getting what?
The, roller skates.
I do not have enough for that.
I got
Anywhere close.
money in my piggy bank. Let me see here.
That's much prettier than
Okay, I got 6 money. If I can borrow 9 gold, I will pay you back in turn.
9 gold. I have
Yeah, that's
2.
Fair and understandable. I'll fix that.
I may have bought a dress.
I mean, you do look very nice.
Solar and I are wearing the same thing.
Dang, if only there was someone here that would help you dye it a different color so you didn't match so thoroughly.
What is this? Scrying orb?
Oh yeah, you can spectate other players with it, I believe.
Yeah, but it requires to eat your magic mirror?
What?
That's wild. It's magic mirror, 2 lenses, and 4 wormhole potions.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, you find all these extra mirrors usually.
Okay, fair, but at the moment, damn.
I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that doesn't have one right now.
Yeah.
As soon as I find one, I will, toss it your way.
I thought you did find one.
I found one.
Oh,
Did you find the second one? Hold on. I can make streaming, can't I? Yeah,
It's
that's
a baby
the,
desert. Alright, I can work with that.
Grab some cobweb.
Who's that? General Spritz died 42 minutes ago. Well, good thing I'm up to speed. Looks like he went down a hole and promptly beefed it.
Oh yeah, that was the boulder.
See,
Sure, blame the hole.
that's what all the men do. Oh, that's a vibe check entrance to the construct. The what's it? The
Corruption.
the corruption.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm on a fucking rope. Why can't I move? So I can't really dig here.
Okay.
Oh. Eat it.
Let's see, picnic table. We now have a meeting area under the cloud house. Where we can eat, party, and survive another day. Say what now?
It seems legit.
Yeah. I'm gonna put explosives in the NG chest because I can't really think of anything else.
I don't know where to dig here. It's
Nature,
fight or fight.
water leaf. Oh wait,
Yes.
hold on.
Worm tooth.
Sure, that's the wall that goes here. Cloud platforms. All right. Hey, Solar, I want you to do something
Yeah.
for me.
What's up?
Die.
I want you to come up here real quick.
You would have died.
I want you to tell me your cringiest joke.
Off the
Trust
top
me.
of my head.
Yeah, yeah, go for it. I want to hear it.
You want my cringiest joke?
Yeah, it only works if you're here, but sure.
I mean, I can channel my father. Don't worry about it. Give me a sec. I'll be there.
I want to see. I want you to come here. And...
I mean, I could
coming
say
there.
that my life, but
Ha ha ha
that
ha
just
ha!
hurts.
Don't insult yourself like that. Here, have a boomerang. Oh, wrong way. There you go. Have a boomerang.
Your cringiest joke is your life?
You know what? You get the whip for that one. That's bad.
At least you can leave
I'm gonna
your
make
house.
you kiss my spiders if you insult yourself again.
You got a hot goth wife that my wife wants? And
You think that's cringe? Sir, you're riding higher than most people.
You are cringe now. You cringe.
Cringe boy, cringe boy.
All right, what's up?
Okay.
What am I doing? What okay, where are you
Alright, come up here. I want you to look me in the eyes and tell me your cringiest joke.
This one's from my father, and it might be slightly racist. That's what makes it cringe. Okay. Man went to the doctor, said, "Doctor, I'm not feeling right. What's wrong with me?" Doctor says, "Oh, you have Zachary disease." The guy's like, "What's Zachary disease?" "Oh, your face looks Zachary like your ass."
I hate it.
Spritz just flew away.
Oh, hey, look, a sky island.
Uh,
It's a lake, so you can fish up here later. There's a duck.
That was your response to the joke. Was, oh look, a sky island.
He flew away. He turned upside down and flew into the sky.
I ascended out of the
Werewolf lady, hello, hello. Werewolf lady, do you want a kiss?
Okay, stop hitting me, Harpy. You're not very clever. Oh, Jesus.
oh,
Wait, height. Cat license. That's more money than I have.
okay.
Don't worry about it. It'll get there eventually. It's just for now I can't do it. No kitty for
Where am
me.
I going now?
Huh?
I'm just looking at the map and deciding where to go now.
Feather.
Edge of the world it is.
Yeah, good luck with that. You're gonna get a real vibe check once you get over there.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
It's very slightly to the left. You will be like, oh. I mean, we can get over it, but like... I guess everyone liked my cringe joke except Spritz, who flew into the sky.
Nobody laughed. I laughed.
I mean, to
I
be
mean,
fair, I have a
credit for
laughing
it, but I had
emote.
a bit going on. That's why I did the thing.
I have a laughing emote, and I have Liz saying she laughed maybe too hard. And I'm like, good. It's not a good joke, but it is a funny joke. Like, the accent is not ideal, but the joke does depend on the accent. So, you can't really do the joke without it so much.
Sky house.
And I'd be lying if the dysphoria has never hit in a way where I look in the mirror and go, oh man,
Face Zach.
I have Zachary disease. So, you know, we all have our days.
Oh, sunflowers. That's actually good.
Perfect. And now I've made my little office. What a lovely hole.
How do you put the map back on?
Oh, it's an office door. I thought it was a guillotine. How do you put the what? The map back on?
Yeah, I
Tab. Tab cycles through your map modes.
Yeah.
I got you, baby. I don't have enough to make an
A
anvil.
question, how many feathers until something useful happens?
Hard mode.
Okay, well, I'm farming feathers, so we might not need them for a while.
Like, straight up, it's a hard mode thing.
You know what? Free money.
You're right, more office doors should be guillotines. That is fundamentally correct.
There's a narrative going on here, and it... Oh, what is this? Chicken nugget!
Oh, with echo paint, that would look awesome. That kind of works already. Ooh, noted.
He is left.
Alright.
I got a chicken nugget!
Yeah, Harpy's dropped off.
Eat.
I have obtained a
You
chicken
think I
nugget
can
from a
just put
harpy.
the pork chops in the oven, baby?
Yeah.
Look up oven roast.
Ask Liz. There.
I mean, if I ask Liz, she's probably just gonna Google it, and I just have to Google it.
350 for 45 minutes.
You think?
Why ask if you're not gonna listen?
I mean, I heard you, but I don't know if you're just winging it or what. 400 degrees. Eight minutes per half inch. Is that thickness or is that size? Thick. Oh. Boneless pork chops should be baked at 400 degrees for 21 minutes.
Back here. There.
Paprika, garlic, onion, oregano, salt, black pepper. Those are the best spices. I see. I see.
We got gold on this world.
Liz, this is why I don't ask you. $5,000 degrees for 3 seconds.
The blue lagoon logic. Oh, it's blue Q kazoo.
I will be right
Been a while
back.
since-
I am going to go put some pork chops in the oven because it's late and I'm hungry. Yeah, scimitar that bird. Fuck that bird up. Left it with 1 HP? Dude, Hano, what are you doing, man? No, I got it. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. And its eyes. I'll kill its eyes too. That one's got a dark lens. Give me the dark lens. You didn't give me a dark lens.
Shoot,
There is no
good
gun.
find. Damn.
That one has a dark lens. Give it. Nope, just the lens. Still defied. Okay, I gotta go put pork chops in the 400 degrees up to 21 minutes.
Oh no, Solar. I guess it's up to us to entertain the stream somehow.
I'm trying. I'm being attacked from all ends. So
I'm standing perfectly
my
still.
side might actually be looking interesting. I didn't realize that it's nighttime too. Oh, hey, shooting star.
Is this enough rope to survive? No, I am very high in the air. I believe I'm over the jungle. Oh no! Oh wait, I got a bunch of rope. I might be able to solve this. First off, let's get this back up to the sun house.
You know, it is very good that you gave me this boomerang before I came over here.
Hooray! I love being convenient with our hand-me-downs.
We're outside.
Ah,
Wait. Oh, oh no! Oh yeah, I landed in water. Okay, I gotta climb before the zombies eat me.
I got a
I landed above the jungle, which is good. Oh yeah, I'm not that far from my rope. No, hi, go away. Ah, you bitch! Ah! So yeah, that didn't go well.
no. Well, okay.
Okay. Solar, I don't think we're doing so good. So you know what? For being brave boy, have Nugget.
Here,
What?
I will trade you your
Thank you.
nuggets for a burger.
Give me just a second.
Oh, good trade. Hey, Jake, can we do something with this feather that isn't in hard mode? Oh, we can make another gravitation potion. Oh, okay, we can make feather fall and gravitation potions. But they need materials we don't really have. Feather fall, technically, we can. We just need
Pork
blink root.
chops. Pork chops.
I've got
Gotta
two
season them
blinkers.
still.
Okay.
Hang on.
Well.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead and like throw it in the nature chest. I'm not gonna craft them now, but it's good to know for the future.
Which one?
The nature chest, the one I'm looking at right now. Oh, I found a painting. I forgot about that. Let's see, what does this look like? Ooh. Okay, that's going into Cloud House when I have successfully make this. Speaking of, I think I can make cloud walls now. Oop. Hello, Star. Wait, I should probably put in the cloud wall before I... Okay. Crap. Do you have a hammer?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you clear up, like, that 2 bits of cloud wall I accidentally put down?
Yeah.
Thank you. But you know what? The cloud is over here now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I feel like I should put something else on this end of the room, but I don't know what else to think of. Hold on, did I? Ah, there we go. I know what to do.
Solar, it's late for us.
What was that?
It's late for us, Solar.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna call it a night here,
Yeah, it's about
just
that time.
because it's past midnight and I do have work tomorrow.
That's fair and
So,
understandable.
Tell Sarah I said, and look forward to another game.
Alright, and just remember, you're better than you think. Wapow.
Okay. And
Hey.
let's see if I can send this right up somewhere. Neat. Never mind. It doesn't actually need that since, I'm right here.
Up. Just me, here in the stream.
I too. Yes.
Oh good, Blackbird, you need to help me entertain Sarah's stream real quick.
I'm not currently playing, so I don't know.
Tell me a joke.
Oh, you joke. I don't. Hang on. Okay, hang on. Got this. Probably got this. No, I don't got this. I'm too tired, man.
Yeah, it's fair.
I usually can think of something, but my mind is blank. How was everyone's night or day or wherever you're from? Obviously, I don't expect any input. This is just
You know what we need to do?
whoever
Sarah's
wants
chat.
to-
You need to figure out
Yeah.
something to leave in chat to Sarah to come back to. It's like no
Wait, yeah,
comprehension.
Put some crazy random shit. It's like, what the fuck were they talking about while I was gone?
Yeah, go for it. You know what? Here's one for you. Tell Sarah what you think the best colored Power Ranger is.
Wait, what color?
The best colored Power Ranger. Just random colors.
Yeah. I gotta pick green now. Green's my boy.
It's a good choice. I can't fault you for it.
Yeah, it's who I always played as whenever I was a kid. Me and my best friend, he always wanted to be the Red Ranger, so I'm like, you suck. Fine, I'll be the Green Ranger. Because I wanted to be Red Ranger, but no, he wouldn't let me.
Alright.
He's like, you can be the Pink Ranger. I'm like, no, gross. Green. Actually, not gross. I wasn't against pink back then because I don't know, colors are colors.
Yeah.
They didn't have a gender to me until people made it very obvious. That's what they were trying to do with me. I'm like, oh,
Damn.
it's ruining it for me, man.
Well, you know what? You could be the Red Ranger if you want because no one can stop you.
You're right, but now that I'm an adult and I know how certain Red Rangers have turned out, you know, like the actors who actually played them. No, I'm pretty good with just sticking with green.
Fair.
Like, I don't know if you heard, didn't one of the Red Rangers, like, turn out to be, like, a murderer or something?
I don't know what's going on with the I don't know what's going on there. I just wanted to throw a prompt up for funny.
Hey, you created a topic. This is what you asked for.
I have invoked the wrath upon the world. I am so sorry. Oh no.
It's alright, no, it's fine. No one has to know.
No one has to know except for the fact that Sarah's recording. Oh my god. I just came over to Sarah's house. She's got a whole ass dock and everything.
Yo, why are you making it rain?
I'm giving you a shower.
What are you trying to say?
I'm giving you a shower to clean up because the water out there isn't always clean, and also run away!
All right, let me strip down here.
Anywho, how you doing?
I am bouncing
We were entertaining chat while you were gone.
Sorry?
We were entertaining your chat while you were gone.
Let's see what we got. 700 degree until 700.
What?
Oh, Liz giving me pork chop advice. Very legitimate pork chop advice. / ways to burn my house down.
Yeah, that checks out.
What are you handing
There
me?
you go. I'm
Cloud
having
stuff.
you cloud things to make your own shower if you want.
I see. Again, wish I had echo paint, but that's much later. Okay.
Excuse you, sir. You're not invited to this hideout. You're not invited either, even though you live here. Anywho, I finished my cloud room. Oh wait, you got like a whole glass in the water thing. That's awesome, actually.
Yeah, no, I'm honored. I must see outside into the water. The
I
food?
love it. I respect the fuck out of it. It's beautiful. Much like you. Well, pow.
My pussy. Okay, I need to look up
You gonna
corn
call
on the
it here?
cob. Huh?
Oh, Solar backed out for the night.
Oh, okay. That's fine. Corn on the cob. I just need to know how to boil it properly, because I've only done it like once. I want to make sure I get it right.
It's a windy day today.
Hey, did you know the ingredients for corn on the cob are corn?
One would think.
Sorry, that was uncalled for.
Okay.
Oh.
As soon as water returns to a boil. Okay, so I need to just boil water and then throw it in 5 minutes. Okay, perfect. Okay. means I can just timer it up and be happy. Live. Okay. Sorry, it got late. I'm like, oh, we should probably have dinner. So it's mostly cooking itself. I just have to make it do its thing.
Whee! I'll put this. No, I can't. Look deep into my eyes and witness my sick tricks.
What did this thing say I had? Well, something again.
Are you impressed yet? No? Then allow me to do more sick tricks. Whoop-ha! Ha. This is a lot closer than I intended. The squirrel made me do it. Yep. Yeah!
All right, I'm jumping off, guys. Have a good stream.
What?
I'm jumping off.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Have a good stream. No, you're good. You're good.
And the power of squirrel.
Nice. I think Katie gave me Topaz.
Wow. Aw, yours is longer than mine.
Is it? You can cling the trees, though.
2, 3.
Oh. Okay. Oh.
Wait, are you telling me I can Spider-Man around? That's awesome, actually.
Yeah, you can cling the trees and stuff.
It's very inconsistent because I'm bad at it, but I'm trying.
Okay. Katie's done too. Alright. Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably fair to wrap it. It is getting...
It was a good time. It was a good stream.
Good 2 hours of... Oh.
Hold on, I gotta show you my cloud house first.
I'm going.
That slime did not deserve that. Oh my god. And observe, if you will, my beautiful cloud room. It's very
That's a
cloudy.
good choice of painting, considering. What's
Yep.
this?
Rain and blocks and torches. One would think it would be good for Mads, but mostly I just do it because it was fun.
Okay.
Hold on. Before we go, I wish to provide... Sarah, left or right?
Right.
Nug.
Autism dinner, sick.
Kazi, I provide to thee by virtue of solar. Berg.
You can have the shackles. You can... I'm gonna save the goblin spikes. Because reasons. Put these in here for now. I guess this counts as blocks. I'm gonna keep my wood. Gotta keep my wood, girl.
I respect it. It's always good to hold on to your wood.
It does. Furniture, I'll put this in here. Can I get out of freaking wood armor yet? Or have we all been just slutting it up with the iron?
I've been living with this iron helmet the whole time. Wood's better, it's fine.
I can only make... Never mind, you got in the fucking box. Okay.
Oh, it's not. I'm sorry.
I cannot do anything that... I brought back a huge stack of iron, and I think everyone else used it, not me.
Why didn't I have some?
I would
I
love to
didn't
not
touch
be in wood anymore. But I think I need, like, 50 iron or something like that to get out of... To get into the iron... I need at least 2 pieces of iron armor to make it worth it. There's only enough bars in there for one thing. So... I'm just... slightly perturbed I did not have anything to wear.
Don't worry, we'll upgrade you next time.
It's fine.
We can build her better, faster, stronger, and more well-equipped.
Wow.
Very tired.
Yeah, I made my own little house, but I can't really do much over here yet. I guess I can make a house for the demolitionist.
Fighting or whatever.
I think the demolitionist already lives over here, but yeah.
Well, they have preferred biomes.
Do they? Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It had numbers on it, so I'm like,
How about that?
is this like some AI generated bullshit clock or something?
That's why the dye trader's over here.
Solar, you're still in the Discord call.
All I got was something about AI generated something or other.
Horrible news indeed.
All right. I don't even remember what she said. That's what she said too. Liz said that's what she said to something. So everyone else used it, but me. Hey, look at the little slime floating by. Bye. Okay. Yeah, it's just the start of my little desert area. I usually end up making a desert area. Desert and ice are kind of my go-tos. I like digging in ice. I don't know where our ice is, and the jungle's in the way of most things over there, so that's probably not happening.
I imagine the ice is past the corruption if I were to guess, but that's just a guess.
An opposite jungle makes sense as a rule, so... These are world gen rules. What's up, girl? You're very decorated. I appreciate that.
I haven't seen Kazi's house. What is this?
Hey, there's the one painting I gave you. Nice.
It's a good look around here.
I think the one on the top right's the painting I gave you. I gave you one painting, yes. You don't even remember. Alas.
I don't know if that's a bug or not.
Oh, that one doesn't do anything.
I don't think this is Minecraft.
That one did.
Hello there. Welcome to the picnic table. Oh, she does not like the picnic table.
There's also a full emotes menu.
Yeah. Hiya.
You guys want to play rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah, how do we do that? Just RPS?
I think you just you slash rock, paper, or scissors.
Alright. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Hey, I win.
I had to wait until you said 3, so I'm just looking at the keyboard. So I'm like, I'm on stream.
Works out. Best 2 out of 3?
Sure.
Alright. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I lose that one. This is a close game.
What do you want, Mr. Man? Alright. Alright. Alright.
Alright. Last time.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Oh! Alright.
What if I just use the emote? Hold on. Just use the emote menu instead of typing. There we go. Oh!
How do you emote menu?
Open your inventory, and on the bottom right of the next to your garbage cans, little smiley face. That's your emotes window.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Alright. Paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, the tie continues.
Okay, but my scissors are glowing, so.
Oh, you haven't won yet. You haven't won yet.
Okay.
Alright. Paper, scissors,
Wait.
shoot.
Wait.
What is this? Alright. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Hey, I win! Good game, Sarah. Well played. Aw. Hello, Kezzy. I guess at this point we call stream. Did you get a dog?
Katie got the dog one and gave it to me and said bark for me.
Nice.
So mine is. I don't know what anyone else has right now. Oh yeah, okay. What's yours, babe? Oh yeah, you still frog. And of course, at any point in time, I could still go.
No.
What, you trying to whip me?
No, I was hitting the wrong button. I'm sorry.
You wouldn't dare whip me.
Alright, I guess we'll catch each other later.
Alright.
This was fun.
Good night, Spritsies.
Okay, bye!
And to the chat, I say also, good night to the chat. Because I have a pot boiling to put in the corn for the cob that I will put into my face. It will be yummy. And then I'm gonna drop titties and stuff! Woohoo! Is there anyone to raid? Is there anyone we can raid that, like, let me look at my... Let me actually see if I can raid. I always forget to check for raiding. And we should probably try to raid, right? Like, at least once in a while, be good in raid. I mean, I'm gonna have corn on the core of pork chop. I'll be pretty happy. Let's see. How do I see who's online that I give a hell about? No. Inbox? My Twitch. Solar. Co-stream Beast Games 2. Strong versus Smart. How about suck my entire dick off? Fuck you and die. Alright, doesn't say what I'm following. Is whatever. We'll try next time. We'll find a good raid. I gotta go. My oven's beeping. Thank you. Goodbye. We will not be streaming Beast Games because I love myself too much. Bye.